चक्षुर्मितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. We welcome everyone for today morning reading and discussion from the book titled as Nectar of Instruction. Nana Shastra Vichanik Nipano Sadhama Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Mahanyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravindra Bhajana Nandena Matali Kayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Rugujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Ragujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Udarupashta Vegam Etan Vegani Vishaheta Dhiraha Sarvam Apimam Pratavim Sashishya Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Udarupashta Vegam Etan Vegani Vishaheta Dhira Sarvam Apimam Pratavim Sashishya. A so person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So, in the commentary of Srila Prabhupada, let's say the purport of this verse, we have read up to the part where Srila Prabhupada gives his commentary. The key points of what Prabhupada mentioned here, the baseline of yogic life is to control mind and senses. If the yogic principles or the procedure that we are practicing, if we have failed to control mind and senses, then whoever we are will be forced to commit sinful acts. The material world is such, it is unavoidable for anyone to not commit a sinful action. So if sinful action gonna get committed, then what's the point of the whole process? So therefore, tapasya was discussed in the beginning. So what is the right tapasya? To become Krishna conscious. How become Krishna conscious? Through the process of Bhakti Yoga. Now to make progress in Bhakti Yoga, we have to take care of certain things. Vacho Vega. We need to be conscious of what we speak. We need to control the urge of speaking. Not much has been discussed by Srila Prabhupada in this context because this subject matter will be again taken up in the text too. So he just didn't mention much about it. Vacha Vegam. Manasa and Krodha Vegam. Regarding Manasa, what did Srila Prabhupada says? How you can tolerate the urge of mind. Yes? Okay, good. Good. So Prabhupada says if your mind is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, your mind will not give you ideas for sense gratification. So that way. In this regard, if in case we need to read and discuss more and understand this point, then we should do that from 17th chapter, verse number 16, where the austerity of the mind has been described. Uh-huh. 17 by 16. What's the first line of it? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yes. Manah prasada saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samshuddhi etat tapamana samuchyate. Very, very beautiful verse and the purport actually. And that purport writes on the subject matter of mind control. The more we think, I'll say that, I'll read from here. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. His Radhesham Prabhu in his last week lecture was making a wonderful point. Just like we have five senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. And human being, all five are voracious, are restless. An example is given in scriptures like how eyes for a fire moth is a weak point, touch is a weak point for an elephant. So when he was talking about for elephant, he made a point that how elephant is such a strong and powerful animal, but when his body is touched by the body of a female, he becomes extremely agitated. And knowing the weakness of an elephant, the hunters capture elephant through the touch of a female elephant. And the elephant gets trapped, falls into the pit, and then they keep him hungry for next 3 to 4 days, starve him. Same with the lion. How does he? Can you imagine a tiny man with a little stick can control a king of the jungle lion? How they do it? They starve him for days together. When he becomes extremely weak, and then they whip him and they indicate, if you want food, do this. So like that, he gets trained. His mind gets trained like this. So there he was making a point that if you look at it for any of these, let's say for elephant, his chase after sense gratification only brought him one thing, that is misery. Misery. Same for the fire moth, same for the deer, same for the fish. The nose is for what? Which is the creature for nose? Who smells? I guess it's a musk deer only, right? And the eyes is fire moth. The tongue is your fish. Uh, Ears for whom? Deer is ears. Smell for bumblebees. And for all the five senses, what? That is more important to remember. So, anyways, so like this, one should not deviate from Krishna consciousness, must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of mind can be obtained only by taking out the mind from sense enjoyment. Like this Prabhupada mentioned. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification. So there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. In the morning, when I was hearing to His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was making a point why people make horror movies and they spend millions and billions of dollars on that CGI effects, VFX effects, whatever effects you call it. So much money is spent on it. Why? Why do they do so? It's because there is a need, and the need for adventure, an adventure of horror. And Maharaj said, "Like, if you waste so much time and energy and money on it, you can read Ramayana Mahabharata. If you're so much keen for a horror story, you can read what was that? Betal. Vikram Betal. That is good enough to scare anyone, isn't it? Anyways, that's the point. So that's how mind is satisfied. Vachavegam, Manasakrodavegam, Jivha, tongue satisfied and needs to be controlled by only having Krishna Prasadam. Jivha Vegam, Udar, Upash, the belly, again, Krishna Prasadam. And genitals, how genitals are controlled? Only procreating for the sake of Krishna conscious child. That's the reason. Now let's start reading from the Anuvritti explanation of Upadeshamrita by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. In my book, this page number 7. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that our. Oh, really? We read that? Okay. So we read that. We read that. Now we're going to start reading from page number 9. Okay. The conclusion is that only when we talk about devotion service to the Supreme Personal Godhead can we refrain from useless, nonsensical talk. We should always endeavor to use our speaking power solely for the purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. What a statement! What a statement! Can you all give me one example of useless, not only useless, nonsensical talk? An example. This will come in Prajalpa in the next verse. Any quick thoughts? What would you call as a useless talk? Too much worldly talk. So little bit worldly talks are okay. You're pushing the adjective too much. Huh? Who said politics? Okay, politics. Not that all politics is useless talk. You're talking the politics of the world, or politics with of ISKCON, politics within Hinjawadi. Which politics you're talking about? Huh? Okay, okay. Celebrity lifestyle. Okay, what else? Yes. Anything about Krishna? Everything about Krishna. My goodness, that's a big statement, huh? Your job is a useless, nonsensical talk. That I guess Prabhu is completely convinced of it. Okay, okay. Yes, Nitai Pran Prabhu. Your hand is up. You want to say something?
Prabhu, is it a talk about the other devotees?
Yeah, that's the main thing. Talk about other devotees. Now, if the talk about other devotees is not done for the intention of, we are glorifying. If in a conversation, if the talk is not about glorification of the devotee, and largely it goes into criticism, largely it goes into comparison. So if you're bringing in any subject matter of another devotee, it should only be when you're glorifying the devotee. Otherwise, we should be very careful. There is subtle envy. We recently talked about 4 kinds of envy, right? Maybe I was speaking in temple about that. So yes, what else? What else? Yes, Shomru? Yeah, that is so much. Now let's talk about within ISKCON specific. Correct. So you're not in a position, but we're talking about मैनेजमेंट ने ये कर दिया, मैनेजमेंट वो कर दिया, जीबीसी बॉडी को समझ नहीं है, मुझे पूछना चाहिए था, बिना पूछे डिसीजन ले लिया, you know, you know, like that. Okay, what else? What else? What else? Yes, I should do. Talking to Mayavadis. Then Prabhupada writing nonsense and in purports, huh? Prabhupada said so much about Mayavadis. What do you mean talking about Mayavadis? Talking with them. Okay, I'm getting confused. You can frame your sentence properly so I understand what you mean. Okay. Anyways, we'll take it, but this is a subject matter worth pondering about it. Prabhupada says useless nonsense. We should always endeavor. Okay, let's put it this way. That was a negation. Let's talk about the positive. We should always endeavor to use our speaking power solely for the purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. Now, give me an example. What could be a conversation? What could be a conversation now if it is meant to realize Krishna consciousness? Now, if you want to talk to devotees, what could be a possible conversation? Yes, Ashur. Okay, that's the best thing. If you can, share your inspiration. Share your inspiration. What has been my recent inspiration? You know, it's so uplifting to the consciousness. Whoever will hear it. Oh yeah, why not? I didn't ever thought like this. Thank you. What else? Anyone? Yes, Parapu? Huh? Yeah. Share something. What you read, what you heard, what you inspired, what you're munching today. What had been a point of inspiration for you? Wow, so nice, isn't it? Think about it. What else? हाँ तो that's the same point, ना devotees. You call devotees, you call bhaktas. That's the same point only. What else? Anything else? What could be Krishna conscious conversation? Discussing about seva, services. That's where your need to talk about, karma gets purified. So you want to talk about karma, actions, then talk about seva. How I can improve my seva? What service did you do, Prabhu? How you're doing? So that karmatmakam buddhi gets purified. Because if you not talk about seva, you'll talk about your karma. It'll come back to. So therefore, it's very important. Everyone should have one service that they feel that they own it. Because if you have to talk, then what will you talk? If you have nothing to speak about service, then you're going to talk about karma only. Okay. So all of you, you know, otherwise let me know if in case you're here at the center and if you don't have anything that you own, that you're owner of it. It's very important. So then mind gets begin to train. That's how you take a break from your karmatmaka or fruitive worker consciousness. All right, let's go to the next paragraph. As for the agitations of the flickering mind, they're divided into two divisions. First, avirodh priti. Priti means attachment, attraction. Avirodh, unrestricted. And there is virodh, yukta, krodha, is anger arising from frustration. Adherence to the philosophy of the Mayavadis, belief in the fruitive results of the Karmavadis, and belief in plans based on material desires are called Avirodh Priti. I'll repeat it, needs little explanation. Adherence. Adherence means sticking to the idea. Adherence to the philosophy, let me make it rephrase, sticking to the idea or ideology of the Mayavadis. रिश्ते में तुम्हारे बाप लगते हैं नाम है शहनशाह. That's really the mindset of Mayavadi. मुझसे बढ़कर कौन? Everyone thinks I am the supreme. And just to pacify others, they say you are also Narayan, we are also Narayan. But where they're actually competing with. So that's a Mayavadi mindset. Belief in the fruitive results of the Karmavadis, which means if I work hard, I'll get the result. It is because of me such and such service is happening. मैं नहीं रहूंगा, सेवा नहीं रहेगी. This is all karmatmakam buddhi. And belief in plans based on materialistic desires, which means मन की इच्छाएं. मुझे ये करना है, मुझे वो करना है, जैसा मन चाहता है वैसा करना चाहते हैं. This is all called as avirodha priti, unrestricted attachment. और इस प्रकार मन हमेशा दुखी रहता है. The mind is always disturbed. Then Gyanis, Karmis, and materialistic plan makers generally attract the attention of conditioned souls. Wow, very profound statement. Gyanis, Karmis, and materialistic plan makers generally attract the attention of conditioned souls. Can anyone think about it? Why? Why they attract the attention of conditioned souls? Gyani, Karmi, and materialistic plan makers. They are very attractive to conditioned souls. You look on even let's put it this way. Uh, Even our devotees who are pretty famous, they somewhere speak in the line of these kind of people. That's the reason they only hear them who are really, really famous. You know, what is it? For example, let's say Vivek Prabhu, Vivek Vindra Prabhu, isn't it? I mean, that's his professional life, but he's very famous in his professional life. So don't see him now from the perspective of devotee that he's supposed to give Bhagavatam class. No, see him from his professional life. Now, why is he so famous? He is one of the world's topmost motivational speaker in the field of entrepreneurship. Why? Because he helps in materialistic plans. He inspires others how to professionally grow, right? So much crowd gets attracted. What else? What else? Any other examples? I give you just one example because I know you would at least know Vivek Bindra Prabhu. Think what anyone else. No, no, I'm not asking you to name anyone. I'm going to say, I'm going to say, understand this point. How Gyanis and Karmis and materialist planet generally attract the attention of conditioned soul. Think about it. What it means. Yes, sure, bro. No, that's the point. What they speak, that they people are getting attracted. That's the point here. That's the point. Conditioned souls wants their material desires. They have their material plan to be fulfilled. Now, again, today morning, only Maharaj was making a point. Maharaj said, we never hear, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for that reason, with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya, ever cracked a joke. They only spoke the truth. And Maharaj was saying, and people heard it. They all had huge following. So this idea, if I speak the truth, the people will not hear to me. It doesn't work like that. Now these people you're talking about, whatever those who are representing spirituality, and they give a very diluted version, even if and there's a discussion of what principles to follow, not follow. So they very much dovetail, not dovetail. They would very much cover their the way of presentation, And it will not be very clear if the speaker is saying you should eat meat or not eat meat. Because they are afraid. If I say you should not eat meat, my followers would become less. So that's the point here. Why people do like this, and why certain spiritual teachers, although they are kind of claiming to be a spiritual minded people, even why they don't say speak the truth as it is, because they're very much conscious and aware that if we tell the truth, people will leave us. The same question was raised with Prabhupada. Prabhupada, disciples said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, out of 4 principles, if you can just relax the fourth principle, we would become world famous. And you know what's the fourth principle, isn't it? What is that? Illicit sex. If that can be just excused, Prabhupada said nothing doing. Nothing doing. So therefore, such people, Gyanis. Now, why Gyanis? Karmis and materialistic plan makers, okay. Why Gyanis? Why Gyanis attract the conditioned souls?
Because
Yes. Somebody online? Go ahead.
then with Pranam Prabhuji.
Yes, Mother Yagya.
Prabhuji, because mental speculation, it does gratify our senses. We feel pleasure doing
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty interesting how it works. Those who are in intellectual class, they would not like a straightforward answer. Intellectual class always prefer to be confused only. जितना उनको घुमा दो बोलेंगे हाँ बहुत अच्छा है क्योंकि समझ नहीं आया मुझे इसका मतलब सामने वाला बुद्धिमान है एंड यू टेल द स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड थिंग ऐसा भी होता है आई पर्सनली सीन दिस आई पर्सनली सीन इट मैं बैठे बैठे मैंने कहा ये क्या फेंके जा रहा है क्या फेंके जा रहा है आई नो एंड माई फील वॉज ऑफ द नेटवर्क सिक्योरिटी एंड दिस गाय speaking to 1,000 plus audience of world famous researchers in the field of security, assembled in one of the biggest hall in assembly, a black hat conference. And he has a keynote session. He goes up on the dais and he's blabbering for 1 hour. मैंने कहा इसके से हमारा टॉक शो हो जाएगा इसकी सारी धज्जे उड़ाते कुछ भी बोलने में लगा है मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आया वो क्या बोला एंड एट द एंड ऑफ हिज 1 hour टॉक ही गॉट अ स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन मैं बैठे बैठे सोचा था लोग क्यों खड़े हुए इसलिए खड़े हुए थैंक गॉड बोलना बंद किया और दे वर रियली हैप्पी व्हाट दे सेड एंड एक्चुअली दे वर रियली हैप्पी व्हाट दे सेड बिकॉज ने ऐसा घुमाया तो लोगों को लगा कुछ ना कुछ तो कह रहा है वो कुछ ना कुछ तो होने वाला है अच्छा सो दैट्स हाउ द ज्ञानीज and karmis and metal and those gyanis also would not and would speak in a such a way where metal your metal plan making would not get hampered so where that metal plan making will remain intact simultaneously मतलब बोलने का तरीका होता है आपका एक intellectual side also gets satisfied and there's one very famous person who does it very expertly उनको गुरुजी कह के बोलते हैं आगे नाम आप लगा लेना आप समझ जाएंगे ठीक है all right similarly the demands of the body we read that, right? Yeah. Metals cannot fulfill their plans, and when the devices are frustrated, they become angry. Frustration of material desires produce anger. Similarly, the demands of the body can be divided into 3 categories: the demands of the tongue, belly, and genitals. One may observe that these 3 senses are physically situated in a straight line. As far as the body is concerned, the bodily demands begin with the tongue. If one can restrain the demands of the tongue by limiting its activities to the eating of prasadam, the urges of the belly and the genitals are automatically be controlled. In this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Sharira vidya jal jodendri hata ekal jive pele vishaya sagare taramadhya jivati lobamaye sudharmati Takijita kadina samsare Krishna vada dayamay koribare jiva jay Swaprasadam manadilo bhai Senamrita kao Radha Krishna gunagao Premeda kuchetanya nitai O Lord, this mental body is a lump of ignorance and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow we have fallen into the ocean of mental sense enjoyment and of all the senses the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to control the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us. You have sent this nice prasad to help us conquer the tongue. Therefore, let us take this prasad to our full satisfaction and glorify your Lordship, Shri Radha and Krishna. In love, call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. Prasadam खाने के बाद क्या करना चाहिए? प्रसादम खाने के बाद श्री राधा कृष्ण का ग्लोरिफिकेशन करना चाहिए. Okay, there are 6 kinds of rasas, tastes. And if one is agitated by any one of them, he becomes controlled by the urges of the tongue. Some persons are attracted to the eating of meat, fish, crabs, eggs, other things produced by semina, and blood, eaten in the form of dead bodies. So, those who are eating non veg, they are living vampires, isn't it? Because this whole dead body is nothing but a transformation of what? Semen and blood, isn't it? So people ask, where are the vampires? Check them in the KFC. जो वहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, if you see from that perspective. Okay. Others are attracted by eating vegetables, creepers, spinach, or milk products, but all for the satisfaction of the tongue's demands. Such eating for sense gratification, including the use of extra quantities of spices like chili and tamarind. Prabhupada ने साउथ इंडियन को भी नहीं छोड़ा, पकड़ ही लिया. चिली एंड टैमरिन, उनका तो दिन ही शुरू ना हो अगर चिली और टैमरिन ना खाएं लोग. Is to be given up by Krishna conscious persons. The use of पान, नॉर्थ इंडियन भी आ गए यहाँ पर. पान के बिना उनका जीवन नहीं चलता. हर ब्राह्मण पान चबाता रहता है. The use of पान, हरी टाकी. What is हरी टाकी? हरी टक्की क्या है? तो ते कॉन्फिडेंटली बोले. Okay, okay. The use of pan, hari takki, betel nuts, supari, various spices used in pan making, tobacco, LSD, marijuana, opium, liquor, coffee, and tea is indulged in to fulfill illicit demands. If we can practice, Hare Krishna, आप क्या दिखा रहे हो प्रभु? If we can practice accepting only remnants of food offered to Krishna, it is possible to get free from Maya's victimization. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk products, and water are proper foods to offer to the Lord. Interesting, Prabhupada doesn't mention oil. Huh? In ISKCON, we eat too much oil. Particularly in ashram, हम ऑयल में नहाते हैं लिटरली. जिस प्रकार से हमारे बंगाली भाई बहन हमारे लिए कुकिंग करते हैं. फ्राइड सब्जी, फ्राइड चावल, फ्राइड पकौड़ा, फ्राइड चपाती, सबको फ्राई करके बनाते हैं लोग. A proper food to offer to the Lord as Lord Krishna himself prescribes. However, if one accepts prasad only because of its palatable taste and thus eats too much, Hare Krishna, he also falls prey to trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to avoid very palatable dishes even while eating prasad. If you offer palatable dishes to the deity with the intention of eating such nice food, we are involved in trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. If we accept the invitation of a rich man with the idea of receiving palatable food, we're also trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. So, two things here. So, therefore, many brahmanas who do service on the altar, they draw a principle for themselves. When they're doing service on the altar on that particular day, they will not accept Mahaprasad. And it's a very good process. Otherwise, imagine the person will take to the service of the deities with an intention, if I go behind the altar, Mahaprasad khane ko milega. So what devotional service he'll be doing? So these are things I believe yesterday evening in Bhakti Shastri class I was making a point, right? You know, you might be put into certain tempting situation. Then if in case you give into it, the next day you fast. You know, you handle that. So that's the point. Second thing, if we are accepting the invitation rich man, let's put it this way. Brahmachari going to the house of Grahastha for, let's say, Brahman Bhojan. Or let's say Grahastha is inviting for Brahman Bhojan or for program. So, as a principle for a brahmachari should not accept any prasad unless some service has been rendered by him to the congregation. And what service? Okay, go and do some kirtan for a while. Maybe have a little talk on half an hour about Krishna Katha. Because unless you do a service and you accept prasad, you become bhogi. And one to definitely should never go, particularly those into brahmachari ashram, they should draw it as a hard line. Should never go thinking that, oh, इस घर में बहुत अच्छा प्रसाद मिलता है, आज प्रसाद खा कर आते हैं. So that prasad never gets digested. What gets digested is the karma of the host. अपना कर्म तो समझ नहीं रहा है, दूसरे का कर्म क्या लोगे तुम, हाँ है ना. So you have to be careful for that. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 6:227 it is said, Jivara lala se ye iti uti dhaya Shishnudara parayana Krishna nahi paya. The person who runs here and there seeking to gratify his palate and is always attached to the desires of his stomach and genitals is unable to attain Krishna. As stated before, the tongue, belly, genitals are all situated in a straight line and they fall in the same category. Lord Chaitanya said, Bhala, not bakala. यहाँ गलत लिखा हुआ है. Bhala na khaibe ara, bhala na paribe. Do not dress luxuriously and do not eat delicious foodstuffs. Those who suffer from diseases of the stomach must be unable to control the urges of the belly, at least according to this analysis. Hare Krishna. दोबारा पढ़ो जरा क्या लिखा है. Those who suffer from diseases of the stomach must be. Now, Srila Prabhupada was also an Ayurvedic doctor. So now is a hard fact here. Those who suffer from disease of the stomach must be unable to control the urges of the belly, at least according to the answer. When we desire to eat more than necessary, we automatically create many inconveniences in life. However, if we observe fasting days like Ekadashi, Janmashtami, we can restrain the demands of the body. As far as, I mean, if you just follow what Prabhupada has given, we don't have to worry about the details. Because Prabhupada's principles of the procedure have covered all the details. As far as the urges of the genitals are concerned, there are two proper and improper or legal and illicit sex. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulations shastras and use his genitals for begetting nice children. That is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genitals, and he may not use any restraint. When one indulges in illicit sex life as defined by the Shastra, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. I don't need to give an explanation here. All of you are aware of the subject. If something needs, we can discuss post this class. These instructions apply not only to householders, but also to Tyagis. Not Tyagi Sarneva, not Vinod Tyagi. That is not that Tyagi, but renunciates. Or those who are in the renounced order of life. In his book, Prema Vivarta, chapter 7, Sri Jagadananda Pandit says, वैरागी भाई ग्राम्य कथा न सुनिबे काने ग्राम्य वार्ता न कहिबे या मिलबे आने स्वप्ने ओ नाकारा भाई स्त्री संभाषण ग्रह स्त्री छाड़िया भाई आसिया चावण यादि चाह प्रणय रखिते गौरांगेरा साने छोटा हरि दासेरा कथा थाके ये नामने भाला न कहिबे आरा भाला न परिबे Hidayate Radha Krishna Sarvada Sevibe. My dear brother, you're in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things. Nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of woman even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with a vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in fine garments, but always remain humble and serve the Lordship Shri Radha Krishna in your heart of hearts. The conclusion. The conclusion is that one who can control these 6 items, speech, vachaha, manasaha, krodhaha, jivvaha, udara, upashta, is to be called Swami or Goswami. Swami means master, and Goswami means master of the go or senses. When one accepts the renounced order of life, he automatically assumes the title of Swami. This does not mean that he is the master of his family, community, or society. He must be master of his senses. Unless one is master of his senses, he should not be called Goswami, but Godas. Following in the footsteps of 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, all Swamis, Goswamis should fully engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As opposed to this, the Gosdasas engage in the service of the senses or in the service of the material world. They have no other engagement. Prahlad Maharaj has further described the Godas or as Adanta Go, which refers to the one whose senses are not controlled. And Adanta Go cannot become a servant of Krishna. And Prahlad Maharaj says, Matana Krishne Parata Svatova Mito Vipadyed Grihata Grihavritanam Adanta Gobir Vishadanta Mishram Punha Punascha Vita Charvananam. For those who decide to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of the senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious. Not by personal endeavor, by instruction of others, or by joint conferences. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called punas, punaha, punas charvita, charvananam, punaha, punas. What is being chewed, chewing the chewed, and chewing the chewed, and the chewed, and the chewed, and the chewed. Hare Krishna. So, Srila Vishnu, so our Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, doing a quick recap, what he has mentioned. We read a couple of pages today. So, demands of the body means tongue, belly, and genitals. And the demands of the body begins with tongue. We should restrict our tongue only eating Krishna Prasadam. How much Krishna Prasadam? Unlimited Krishna Prasad. Because Prabhu की मर्जी unlimited है. अपना प्लेट का साइज भी unlimited है. No. However, if one accepts prasad only because of his palatable taste, eats too much, he also falls prey to trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. All right. Sri Chaitanya taught us to avoid very palatable dishes even while eating prasadam. So, what is the practical implication of it? Any questions, any doubts, any thoughts onto it? So, from today onwards, not today, आज तो एकादशी है. हाँ, आज से शुरू करते हैं ना एकादशी, फास्टिंग, फुल डे फास्टिंग. अभी जो प्रसाद बना है जाके नीचे हमारे फौजियों को बांट कराते हैं. मतलब फौजी मतलब अपने गेट कीपर. आज से शुरू हो जाए. चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने कहा है कंट्रोल, नो डोसा इन द आफ्टरनून. एकादशी डोसा आई मेंट टू से. यस और नो और नो और यस. अच्छा, रेगुलेटेड डोसा, 2 dosa per person. Okay, okay, good. What do you all think? And from tomorrow onwards, only खिचड़ी. खिचड़ी से ज़्यादा सात्विक आहार कोई है ही नहीं. साउथ इंडियन को चटनी नहीं खाने देंगे, सांबर नहीं खाने देंगे. हाँ भाई, इमली और क्या है तुम्हारा टेम्बरिन के बिना उनका जीना ही ना हो. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक, हाउ डू यू फॉलो दिस? प्रभु जी अपने लिए नहीं है ये, एक गोस्वामी के लिए. अपना एम गोस्वामी बनना नहीं है. अपना एम तो जैसे तैसे भक्ति करते रहो. सो व्हाट डू यू से? एनी थॉट्स? वी शुड एम. तो जब मैं रिटायर्ड हो जाऊंगा 60 साल के बाद, तब प्रभु जी मैं फिर ये NOI को पढ़ूंगा, क्योंकि वैसे भी हाजमी का तो कुछ हिसाब रहेगा नहीं, दांत भी ढीले हो गए होंगे, वैसे भी कुछ नहीं खाया जाएगा, तब बोलूंगा मैं वाह चोवे का मन साकरो देगा. ओके ओके. व्हाट एल्स? यस अशा. अबे खाने को कौन मना कर रहा है? हम तो पैलेटेबल आइटम की बात कर रहे हैं. खिचड़ी खिला रहे ना तेरे को कल. saying no for prasad. खाना तो मिल रहा है, प्रसाद तो मिल रहा है. Palatable dishes. What else? See, look back in Srila Prabhupada's life. Even he would have his own full course meal. And has to be delicious, has to be tasty. So it doesn't mean when it is at palatable dish, it means now bina namak ke. I remember my friend when he read it. That guy, उसके बाद उसकी cooking इतनी improve हुई, इतनी improvised हुई. One morning, so we had a shift. He will cook in the morning and I'll cook in the evening for a week. And then next week, I'll cook in the morning, he'll cook in the evening. और जब भी वो किचन में जाता था ना, मेरा ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ना शुरू हो जाता था, क्योंकि आज ना कोई किचन में धमाका होने वाला है. So this guy went to cook and he cooked. बड़ी खुशी खुशी आया. He was our South Indian friend. बड़े खुशी, प्रभु प्रसादम रेडी हो गया. और मेरा जो टेंशन बड़ा, प्रसाद रेडी हो गया. मैंने कहा तुझे चखा है? बोला नहीं प्रभु, मैं कैसे चख सकता हूँ, प्रभु को खिलाएंगे पहले. मैंने कहा प्रभु को खिलाने के बाद चखा? बोला नहीं प्रभु, मैं कैसे चख सकता हूँ, पहले वैष्णव चखेंगे. मैं चखूंगा. मैंने कहा सारा का सारा हार्ट अटैक मेरे को हैंडल करना पड़ेगा. बोला प्रभु आओ. मैं गया और खिचड़ी, जैसी खिचड़ी बनी थी, ठीक है. एंड ही सेड प्रभु बैठो. एंड बड़े खुशी सर्व करी. और मेरे को पसीने छूट रहे. भगवान जाने उसने आज खिचड़ी में क्या डाला होगा. और मैंने खिचड़ी चखी. माय गॉड, ऐसा खिचड़ी तो मैंने आज जीवन कभी ना खाया, और प्रार्थना करूंगा दोबारा ना खाने को मिले. You know what he did? मैंने कहा प्रभु, आपको स्वीट पोंगल नहीं खिचड़ी बनानी थी, खिचड़ी में आपने चीनी क्यों डाल दी आज? खिचड़ी में चीनी डाल दी प्रभु ने. तो मैंने पूछा खिचड़ी में चीनी क्यों डाली आपने? ये आप स्वीट पोंगल बना रहे थे या खिचड़ी बना रहे थे? हमारे यहाँ खिचड़ी तो नमक से बनती है, आपने खिचड़ी में इतनी शुगर क्यों डाली है? बोला प्रभु प्रभु मैं क्या करूं, मुझे नमक तो डालना था, नमक मिला नहीं, तो मैंने सोचा मैं क्या डालूं, तो मैंने चीनी डाल दी. मैंने कहा तेरा भला हो. मैंने कहा अपने अपार्टमेंट के नीचे स्टोर है, वहां जाकर नमक नहीं ला सकता था? बोला प्रभु जी नहीं, चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने कहा ना, हमने अभी भी एनओआई पढ़ा था, पहला टेबल, ज्यादा खाने पे ध्यान नहीं देना. मेरा जपा रह गया था तो मैंने सोचा चीनी डाल के कहा. So no, this is an extreme end of it. Not like that. Prabhupada himself ate. So, and as far as we really cannot restrict our mind to that degree. We eat, but it should not be too much. So therefore, we draw certain regulations like sweet 7 days in a week, right? Every day there should be one sweet. अब अपना तो वैसे ही चलता है ना, सैटरडे संडे स्वीट, कभी ना कभी कुछ ना कुछ आ ही जाता है. So regulation is once in a week sweet. But how many of you agree, since you have come to ISKCON, you almost on everyday basis eat sweet now? Raise your hand. At least those who are in temple for sure. कभी बोलेंगे जगन्नाथपुरी का महाप्रसाद, कभी वृंदावन महाप्रसाद. अपना महाप्रसाद खत्म नहीं होता. महाप्रसाद के नाम पे क्या क्या बड़ी बड़ी स्वीट आती रहती है. We never ate that much sweet. So there should need to be some regulation. Now you go to Ayurvedic doctor. My doctor used to say, बोला यार तुम ब्रह्मचारी का एक प्रॉब्लम है, बहुत स्वीट खाते हो तुम लोग सबको बोलते हो सात्विक आहार सात्विक आहार सात्विक आहार के नाम पे सबसे ज्यादा स्वीट तो ब्रह्मचारी लोग खाते हो, तभी तुम लोग का तबीयत खराब रहता है. मैं कहा मैं क्या करूं भाई, आश्रम में ऐसा मिलता है करके, यू नो. एंड दोज हु आर इन डीटी डिपार्टमेंट, उनका तो 3 times स्वीट एवरी डे. भगवान के प्रसादम सेवा के नाम पे, प्रसादम सेवा के नाम पे मिठाई सेवा. So yeah, there has to be certain regulation, and the prasadam has to be cooked nicely. We cannot just make anything. Prasadam has to, we see the whole art and science of prasadam in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how consciously prasadam was cooked, served. It definitely has to be delicious. By palatable dishes, of course, it means delicious. It is meant not too much rich. Not that now every morning, evening you're eating paneer sabji. You cannot digest this. You know, you cannot really work with it. But even if you make khichdi, it has to be delicious. And the major component of what adds flavor to any prasadam that you make is if it is done with the heart. This is for the pleasure of Shri Radha Krishna and for the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are going to honor it. Then when you make it, it will come out very nice. You're very conscious. That's the point here. So that's the point about eating. Eating, our ISKCON movement is all about eating only. So that's the subject matter has to be a little bit thought about. ये हो गया, suffering from stomach disease, allergies of genitals. I can have this discussion post this class. We can discuss something about it. What is artificial means and all that being Prabhupada mentions here. Then conclusion, who is a Swami, how to become one, and there's some concluding instructions like that. Matarna Krishna Parato Sato Va. Godas. Don't be Godas. Don't remain Godas. In essence, if you want to say, if you want to conclude this verse, Srila Prabhupada came to our life to make us from Godas to Goswami. That's the journey of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So tomorrow when we catch up, we're going to read text 2. Let's decide the verse today. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo nivagraha janasanga chalalyam cha shadbhir bhakti vinashati. So there are 12 items which needs to be given up. These are 6 items, and the first 6 items which we discussed. Explicitly what need to be given up? These are these 6 items. What need to be controlled were the first 6 items. We'll take a look at it. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. And it's a lifetime's mission to actually really follow as Srila Rupa Goswami intended to speak, or as Srila Prabhupada have written the purpose. It's not easy. Back and again we get inspired by our conditioned nature. All right, so we conclude here for today. Any concluding comments? Any clarification? All right, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Rupa Goswami ki, Upadeshamrita ki jai. Thank you everyone. We'll meet tomorrow morning same time.